Relentless, the pursuit of greatness, going after another World Series title. We're going to talk about Dana Brown's comments, Josh Hader's comments, and the man, Joe Espada, on this relentless episode of Locked On Astros.
Welcome to Locked On Astros, your daily Astros podcast. Here are your hosts, Eric the Man Huysman and Brett H-Town Wheelhouse Chancey.
We are Locked On Houston Astros, and we hope that you join us for a daily Locked On Astros podcast. My name is Eric Huysman. You can find me on X at Eric Talks Stros. You can find the show at Locked On Astros, your team every day. Brett, where can they find you when you're not relentless?
I'm always relentless. You know, I was born ready. I don't get ready because I was born ready. You can find me at H-Town Wheelhouse on X, Instagram, and TikTok. You can find me at Stros411 on X, Instagram, and Facebook. Always positive. Positive. I love Astros Media Day and all the things I've heard today. Always Stros.
Guys, thank you for making Locked On Astros podcast your first listen every day. Whether it's YouTube, go and subscribe to us. Go give us a big fat thumbs up. Go and make us your first listen on Apple, Odyssey, Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcasts. Go ahead and check out the Locked On Astros podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. New customers join today, and you'll get $200 in bonus bets. If your first bet of $5 or more wins, visit FanDuel.com/locked on today and get started. So, Brett, I went to the town hall for season ticket holders. A friend of ours invited me, so that was pretty cool. It's awesome to get to see the manager, and Joe Espada walked right by me, and it didn't even click that it was Joe Espada, just because he is just one of us. He's just a guy. I mean, I guess that just he's not that legendary guy like Desi Baker is, but at the same time, he has this presence that once he gets up there and starts talking, you're like, oh no, this guy has the authority. This guy knows what he's doing, and this guy is going to take the Astros far this year. So he talked during the Astros Media Day. He talked a lot during the town hall. And there's a lot that we have to discuss on tonight's podcast.
No, yeah, definitely. And the reason why I kept this comment up here is Brad Eubanks says, "Let's go Astros." I noticed they both have Giants beanies on, which tells me they might be from up north, and they might be Northerners or maybe transplants, but they're Astros fans. So, you know, tip of the hat to you, sir. Thank you for supporting us, Susan, Eddie, Daniel, Astrowolf, Craig, and Arrow Kits 27. I hope I said it right with the baseballs there. But look, there was a lot of stuff that came out today, a lot of positive stuff. One little side note, Talking Baseball, you know, the John Boy Media Group, Talking Baseball, Jake really likes the Astros a lot. So I don't mind saying good things about him, but I really like their top 10. I think it's according to FanGraphs. So it wasn't their list. According to FanGraphs, the top 10 teams to win the World Series are basically get there and win the World Series, and the Rangers weren't even on the top 10 list, and I had to retweet it, and I'm getting a lot of smoke for it from Rangers fans, but you know what? Listen, when you win, it comes with the territory, and so there's a lot of Rangers fans talking a lot of crap, and that's great. That means that when they either don't make the playoffs, they'll be really pissed off, or when they make the ALCS and we beat them to go back to the World Series, they're going to be even more upset. So that's always fun, but let's get to the comments, because we've been wondering, like, what is this Jose Altuve? What does this extension mean? Because Eric, he really did take a hometown discount because he's been making $33 million the last few years. The most he'll make in a single season is $30 million. And for all intents and purposes, he is the perfect type of second baseman that you would spend 35 to 40 million on in a typical, I guess, extension cycle for most players. If it were a Mookie Betts, if it were a Mike Trout, you know what I'm saying? Right. So the fact that he came back, it gives them flexibility, I believe, in the future. And the way they front loaded it helps them towards that end to help pay players down the road. And
Yeah,
so,
I think that it goes to what Scott Boras said. Scott Boras said that Altuve and his wife Nina wanted to stay in Houston. They didn't want to have to take their kids out of school. They didn't want to take the
right,
kids somewhere else. And they said that what they did was with Altuve, they did something that's called a bridge contract. And so with the type of deal that Altuve signed at the beginning of his career, kind of led to where he ended up in the middle part of his career, where he did sign that big, massive extension. Now it's the bridge. You go up the bridge and now you go down the bridge. And
right.
so that's kind of what's going on in this
I
situation.
like
So he said that somebody like Alex Bregman, on the other hand, he's on a different trajectory. He's a lot younger. I believe he's 27, 28. So he's a little bit younger. So he's definitely looking for more of a long-term. I think he's older,
He's,
actually.
no, you're talking about Alex Bregman. He's going to be 30.
Yeah. I don't know who I was thinking about. Who's
Tucker is younger.
That's who I was thinking of.
Alex Bregman's 29 going to his 30th year. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but Bregman is a little bit younger. He's got the room to maybe sign that 8 to 10 year deal that Altuve did not. So this was the kind of conclusion. Let's go and finish the construction of the bridge, get all the money that Altuve, his kids, his wife, his kids will need. And then he's playing a game that he loves. And it was about the legacy for Altuve as well. That's something that Scott Boras, and that's something that you're not used to hearing. Normally it's all about the money, but with Scott Boras, he made it with Altuve. It was about the legacy. He wanted to be in Houston. He wanted to be a lifetime Astro. I see a lot of people saying, don't compare Altuve to Bagwell and Biggio. And that just shows how these, some people that watch the Astros now didn't really watch how good these players were back then.
Well,
but these are legacy players, and Altuve is probably better than them right now, but that doesn't mean that they're not in the same story. And so they're in the same neighborhood. And so for us to have had these three players in our franchise, in our life, that doesn't happen very often.
Well, I mean, think about it. You got two of the best second basemen that have graced a baseball field since the 90s playing with your team. As Biggio ends his career, Altuve starts his career, and the second base reign for the Houston Astros continues. I mean, you can always go all the way back to Joe Morgan. It's sad that he couldn't be with the Astros even longer to to increase that pedigree longer over that. But Dana Brown did say, we love Alex. We'd love to have him here. We'd love to have him here for a long time, but there's no timeline on what we're going to do. At some point, we're going to offer him a contract, because I think it would be weird, he said, to look at third base and not see Alex Bregman at third base. So the reason why I say that is because the Astros, see, I have been like, Alex is going to take the bag. Alex is going to walk. Crane said the other day, it's up to Alex Bregman and what he wants to do. Basically, he's going to have to take what we give him. It sounds like, though, there might be some leeway, because remember, Alex Bregman himself said, I want my son to grow up to be like Jose Altuve. I think Alex Bregman loves winning. I think Alex Bregman loves his team. He's not failed to make an ALCS in his entire professional career. And if you go somewhere else, you have a danger of losing that streak or that compatibility to get back to the World Series for the next 2 or 3 years combined. And so I think an actual Bregman extension is more realistic today than it was a month ago.
Yeah. And I think what we're going to see is what Scott Boras kind of alluded to, is that somebody like Bregman is going to want to test the market. He's going to want to go out there and see it. And that's kind of what Jim Crane said. Every one of these guys is in a different situation. We'll certainly visit with Bregman when that time comes and move on to the next deal. Meaning, when probably not going to be extension, because I think he kind of said that they're going to make an extension offer at some point, and it's going to have to be one that's not bad where they insult him. So it's going to have to be a legit offer. And Scott Boras said that Alex Bregman is open to listening, But if they can't reach an agreement, then what's going to happen is he's probably going to reach free agency, and the Astros are then going to have to compete with all the other people out there who want to get one of the top third baseman out there. Because I know that we have given him criticism at times, but he's still out. He's still going to probably get around $300 million for his next contract. I don't know how many years it's going to be, but he's going to demand a lot. So we'll have to go and continue this conversation in a second. But I'm excited about everything that was said today at Media Day. And I'm excited just to see what goes on at spring training. And I know that Joe Espada sure likes that cabbage that the Astros just got. And if you need cabbage, Brett, we know where they can go to.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. This episode is brought to you by Ibotta. Well, look, it's officially soup season. Make sure that you get all the ingredients you need for your master recipe, or maybe that third generation recipe that you have. I remember growing up, we had a soup recipe that was like my great grandmother's, and it was always the best because you never went wrong. Well, one of the things we didn't have to deal with back then was inflation and crazy high grocery prices. And with Ibotta, you don't have to worry about that either. It is a free app that gives you the most cash back every time you shop on hundreds of items, from groceries to beauty supplies to toys, so you can make sure that you're beating inflation no matter what you're purchasing. I can't imagine how many groceries we could have bought had we got money back then. The average Ibotta user earns $145 per year. That's astounding. That could cover the cost for an entire shopping trip, buy you that flight you've been wanting. And look, I'm going to Vegas for the first time this year. Those flights are cheap. You could go to Vegas. So join over 50 million. Yeah, I didn't say 50,000. I said 50 million savers and earn cash back every time you shop from over 2,700 brands and retailers, including Lowe's, Macy's, Sephora. You hear that, ladies? Sephora, Best Buy, guys, that's right, and so much more. So right now, Ibotta is offering our listeners $5 just for trying the app by using the code Locked On MLB when you register. Just go to the App Store or Google Play and download the free Ibotta app. Start earning cash back and use the code Locked On MLB. That's IBOTTA in the Google Play Store or App Store, and use the code Locked On MLB.
Hey guys, thank you for making Locked On Astros podcast your first listen every day. Whether it's on YouTube, go and subscribe to us. Go and make us your first listen on Apple, Odyssey, Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcasts. Make us your first listen and go and become an everydayer. Go and check out the Locked On Sports Today podcast as well. It's live 24/7 with all the sports news you need to know. Right now, it's all about the Super Bowl, and will Taylor Swift be able to make it back to the Super Bowl on time? I'm sure that's what we all want to know about. But go and check out Locked On Sports Today live 24/7 on YouTube.
You know, she's building up quite the carbon footprint. I just heard about the whole stuff with, and trust me, I'm not into carbon footprints. I'm like, fossil fuels, let's go. But yeah, so that's funny. It's creating quite a stir there. But this Relentless slogan, Eric, Relentless.
Mm-hmm.
I was wondering what they were going to come up with. I think on the banner for the X account for the Rangers is like, we took it, or we came and took it, or something like that, or we took it back, or I don't know. But Relentless, I love the relentless pursuit of the title. That I think whoever came up with this, I demand them a raise. I think they should get like a 15% raise, like right now. It was a great slogan. What do you think? Did you see the little hype video that they put out?
I saw a part of it while I was trying to get ready for the podcast, but yeah, it was actually pretty awesome. And I think that Joe Espada and Julie Morales kind of summarized it pretty well. It's just that you can't just go into the season thinking you're going to win, because all the teams are going to go out there and they're going to try to kick your butt. So you have to be relentless. You have to go out there and put your best foot forward every game, and not just have this idea that, like Mookie Betts says, that every game we play is the other team's World Series. Well, that's not the philosophy you have. You go out there thinking that you got to win every game. And so I think that the Astros have the right idea. And I think I think that's what a little bit about what the team lacked a little bit last year was some relentlessness at times. They maybe with the lineup selection, maybe with execution, maybe with pitching. Just at times, it didn't feel like they had the same edge like they've had in the past. They're like, okay, we're going to win no matter what. And so I think that maybe with Joe Espada under the helm now, I think they're going to go out there and they're going to be relentless and they're going to do what it takes to win. And one of those things that we're going to talk about in a second, I guess we can go into it, is the 6-man rotation. Joe Espada at the town hall, I know that he mentioned it at the media day, but he mentioned that the Astros will probably be using a 6-man rotation because there's not going to be as many off days as there was last year. You have a lot of younger arms that they're still trying to bring along in Hunter Brown, JP France. And I think they're trying to get him to announce who the opening day starter is, but I think we pretty much know who that is. But
yeah, that's not a mystery. I mean, it's Justin Verlander. I mean, as long as Justin Verlander's in a Nationals uniform, and unless it's an old timers game and he's retired, Justin Verlander's the opening day starter.
Right.
But us talking about relentless reminds me of the phrase "practice like you never won, but play like you never lost." And Eric, you talking about that because I know you got to hear him in an extended version where I stood there with him for a few questions. But how impressed were you with just his presence? To me, he comes across as your consummate professional. He doesn't come across as a first-time manager. He doesn't come across nervous. Like, he knows what the heck he's doing. And I am so impressed with this business-like approach. Like, he's not putting the cart before the horse. He's not trying to call things out. Like, yeah, we're definitely going to do this. We're definitely going to do that. It's this relentless pursuit. Like you said, him and Julia probably packaged really well and said, yeah, because it's hard. It's difficult to win. I mean, we didn't win it last year. We wanted to go back to back. And,
right.
and then one of the things he talked about today during media day was going after the fundamentals. And guess what the first fundamental he mentioned was?
Base running.
Base running, yes.
Yeah,
base running.
Yeah, he said that's going to be a big focus this spring training. And he said even when the people are out here at Minute Park, he said, Jose Altuve, we're still working with him on base running. And it just goes to show that you kids in T-ball, you kids in high school, there's never enough training. You always going to have to learn something. And so that's what I like about him. And he was talking about coaching, and he says that a lot of managers, they do most of the talking, but what he likes to do is he likes to listen. And he says that there's God gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. You're supposed to listen more than you're supposed to talk. And so that's why, like a lot of coaches that are good, they're the ones that listen to what you're having issues with. And I just saw something on X I got to mention. Trevor Bauer, he is trying to get a contract back in MLB, and apparently he has made his own deal that he's shopping across baseball, and it's an offer that nobody can refuse, basically paying for nothing, and nobody's taking the bait. So that's just funny.
Yeah. You know how I feel about that guy. But seriously, real quick, before we move on to the next segment, a couple of highlights of what Joe Espada said today. They asked him, how are you going to manage? And he said the players will determine that. The players will determine how I manage. I'll feed off of that. And then he also said one of their biggest openings is in the bullpen. He said we've got a lot of areas to grow. We've got new spots. We got spots that are open, guys that aren't out in the minor leagues. And another thing he said was, Jake Myers. Jake Myers is gonna get his time to play there in center field. And this is what I like. He said about Yordan Alvarez. Yordan Alvarez is gonna play left field more. I am going to open up the DH for more guys to get rest, which means when you're resting and your bat's hot, you're probably going to play DH. You're not going to sit on the bench. You're going 3 for 4, 2 games in a row. Your bat's in the lineup. You're just not going to play on the field. But he wants Jordan to play more left field. And
Right.
Victor Caratini will probably get some opportunities at first. And Yainer Diaz will get some opportunities at DH. I just love what he had to say today about that.
Yeah, he also said that Victor Caratini and Yainer Diaz has been they've been working together already, and that Caratini has come from 2 winning organizations, and that he knows what it is like to win, and he's already getting to know the system, and so they're excited about spring training. And he mentioned something really weird. He said Chas McCormick is the type of guy that in the middle of a game, he would come up to you and talk to you and say something that's not about baseball at all, and just to totally distract you. And he's just that type of guy. And he said, speaking of which, he got married like 2 weeks before spring training. Like, who does that? Like, who gets married that soon? And so,
well, Chas McCormick does, a top 10 center fielder who isn't the center fielder. Oh, that's weird. Okay.
Yeah, but we'll see what happens. And like I was talking on our Discord server, we'll see what happens. Last year, it was all about Martin Maldonado. And by the way, they did, Joe Espada did say that Martin Maldonado was the team leader last year. So they said that he would be sorely missed on this. So we'll go and continue this conversation. What did Joe Espada have to say about Dubon? You already kind of mentioned Alvarez situation. We'll go and talk about that in a second, and then we'll go ahead and go into what Dana Brown had to say about any more moves, what else is going on, and we'll kind of wrap up the show from there.
Well, that's right. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Let me tell you, folks, it is Super Bowl week. We are leading into the big game, America's #1 sports book. If you're like me, the Super Bowl means one thing. Well, actually means many things. Getting the best seat on the couch, grabbing your favorite football food, and placing the super bets. Let me tell you right now, the line is still +2.5 Chiefs. Look, I'm not a betting doctor, a betting man, but I would say that betting on the Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes at +2.5 is not a bad bet. The line has moved to a total of over and under 47.5. And I can tell you that there are some really cool things going on over there. Anytime touchdown score, Christian McCaffrey -230. So not only can you bet on who won the Super Bowl 58, but at FanDuel, you can bet on which players will score a touchdown, how many points will be scored, and so much more. Excuse me. Sorry. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon today to sign up. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon today. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL.
Guys, thank you for making the Locked On Astros podcast your first listen every day. Whether it's on YouTube, go and subscribe to us. Go and make us your first listen on Apple, Odyssey, Spotify. Wherever you listen to your podcasts, go and check out the Locked On Astros podcast. And while you're there, go and check out Locked On Sports Today. It's the first ever 24/7 streaming channel out there with all the NFL news, NBA, MLB, all the different sports, and even non-sports that you need to know out there 24/7. So go and check them out. And hopefully once the Astros season gets going, you'll see some of Brett and I out there as well. So we're going to go ahead and talk about what's going on with some more comments that Joe Espada had to say. Actually, this was Julia Morales, but she said that Mauricio Dubon is this cocky guy. He thinks that he can do everything, even though when he might be a little bit nervous. But she said before opening day last year, he was all pumped up. He's like, "Oh yeah, I should have always been the starting second baseman. I know I'm the best player out here." I mean, of course, Jose Altuve is the best player, but when he saw a stat on the board, it said that Mauricio Dubon is the first player to start opening day for Houston Astros since 2011, not named Jose Altuve. That actually made Dubon nervous on opening day. And so they had a chat about that before the game. But one of the fans asked about Dubon. They said, how much playing time would Dubon get? And Joe Espada said, well, he did a great job for us last time. and to keep his bat hot, you're going to have to get him playing more often. So he's going to play a lot. He was a Gold Glover last year, and the fact that he can play anywhere, you can put him at third base, you can put him shortstop, second base, first base, wherever you want to put him. You can put it anywhere in the outfield. So he's a utility guy. So yes, he's gonna play quite often. So Joe Espada has this task of finding playing time for all these guys. You got to get some playing time for Alvarez in left field. He's really high. Just listening to this guy talk about Trey Cabbage, this makes me think that if he shows anything in spring training, this makes me think that there's a chance that he could be on the opening day roster. I know that there's some other players that probably deserve to be on the roster ahead of Trey Cabbage, but it seems like Joe Espada, I've heard him say this like 3 or 4 times now. They said if they could just work on making a small adjustment with his swing, he can develop into a quality player. And so that's what they're going to be doing this spring training. And so there's just a lot of great comments at the town hall meeting. So I know I saw a lot of y'all there. Thank you to the guy. I didn't get your name, but thank you for introducing yourself. But it was just awesome to be there. And I know we already talked about 6-man rotation. Alvarez possibly playing some time in left field. But Dana Brown, they asked, well, are you going to go out there and get any more pieces? And so from what I understand, what you see is what you get. I mean, they went out and spent a lot of money on a closer. And so the big opening, you would say, would be in the bullpen. And I guess there's not really a huge need in the bullpen. So Dana Brown, do you have any quotes from him about what he said about any more roster moves outside of possibly trying to do extension on Alex Bregman?
Well, I mean, he did talk about, he said, you're always looking to, you're always looking to improve the team. He said,
Right.
even if you have a lineup full of all-stars, you're always looking to improve. He said we could always, see a starter going to the bullpen. We could always look at if there's a starter out there that's available. And again, Dana Brown and Joe Espada both said that their biggest opportunity for someone coming into the roster, maybe from the lower level, would be in the bullpen.
Right.
They've got arms down there that they could do, but really there's not really a whole lot of other moves to be made. I mean, Kyle Tucker, I don't think he gets a deal done until a year or two. I think if Kyle Tucker goes out and has a great year and goes out and has a really good postseason, there's a chance he gets signed next offseason. They extend him, right?
Right.
But it makes financial sense. If you think you're going to sign him, he'll be a little bit older. You'll be able to sign him to a shorter deal. You won't have to sign a 10-year deal because he'll be a little bit older. So,
yeah.
Thanks for taking over for me. Sorry, I was I had a frog in my throat, and I could not get the words out hardly. I barely made it to that live read.
I was about to take over the ad read for you, but
yeah, man. Next time, help me out, man. I was drowning there, but thank y'all, everybody. I don't see any judgment on the screen, so thank y'all so much for being patient with me.
Yeah, so there's a lot of great things. Like he talked about Omar Lopez, and he talked about the decision to hire Omar Lopez as a bench coach. And they said that they called a lot of different people, and there were several names big names they were going after. And the teams actually said no to them, that they couldn't go after them. And then Dana Brown went up to Joe and was like, hey, I think we're going about this. We're working too hard on this. We got our guy. Omar Lopez, he's been around the Astros organization for 23 years. He's managed most of these guys. He knows the organization. Why not him? And Joe was like, yeah, that makes total sense. And so he said that he actually called, he FaceTimed Omar and said, hey, go get your wife. And so he basically didn't ask if he wanted a job. He said, hey, you're going to be the bench coach of the Houston Astros. Awesome.
So, hey, real quick, I'm not going to address this right now, but this is what I'm going to do. And I'll put a little blurb on it on our channel. I want y'all to start sending questions. You can send a question to me or Eric, and I'm going to answer this question and do a now about it. I'm going to do a Locked On Now, and I'll put the response to this question up on YouTube a little bit later. So I'm going to start doing that. Because I know a lot of times y'all have questions. I've been thinking about this, Eric. It's kind of like just came out of nowhere today. They ask questions on the show. We don't really get to them all. So look, if you got a question, we'll have an extended show tab in the community tab after each show, and we'll try to answer. Like, I don't know if we can answer every single one of them, but we'll try to answer them. We'll do a little 60-second now. It'll be real easy. That way you guys' voice can be heard. So we appreciate your input. So don't ever think that we forget about you. Don't see. It's just hard to get to everybody.
Right. And if you listen to my podcast the other day, the solo one, I actually addressed that. And I said that there's no way that Tucker gets that length of that deal because Witt Jr. is a lot younger. I don't think he gets $35 million per year, but he's going to demand at least $32 million or something. So it just depends on how many years. So I think that it does up. I think there are different positions, but yeah, it does do something for the market. So yes, I do think that the Astros are done making moves. I think if anything else, like something falls in their lap, like Jordan Montgomery's there, and to kind of close out the show, apparently Josh Hader said that the reason why, I mean, he's not a Ranger is because of the TV deal. And he went to play with Jose Altuve, right?
Yeah, the reason is he want to play with Jose Altuve. That's right. Eric, great show. Thanks for hooking me up at the end there. Sorry for bowing out there. This has been another great Locked On Astros on H-Town Wheelhouse. He is Eric Huysman. We're your only daily Astros podcast. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. Help us get to 11,000, 20,000. I can't wait. We are only 9 days away from the release of the interview. Actually, 5 days away. All right, I guess it's my cue. I've been Oscared out of here.